It's America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Welcome back, America. I want to get into something I was telling you about just before we took the pause, and it's this book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis by Gianno Caldwell. I recommend you pick up a copy. Why? Because I know Gianno Caldwell. I've known him for a number of years, and he's a good guy. He tells the truth. He calls it like it is. And in the middle of the violence that was going on in Chicago, and we were doing a lot of coverage on that, out of left field, he put out a post that his younger brother, Christian, was murdered in some of that violence. And it really hit home. It personified the pain, if you will. And I wanted to talk to him about this brand new book. He's here with me now, Gianno Caldwell.
Thank you for having me, brother. It's always a pleasure. There we go.
So what's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well, pushing ahead. It's been, quite the year already. We started the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety just last year, where we are set and have been working to unseat progressive, George Soros-funded DAs. So I know we're jumping right into the conversation.
No, it's good.
But yeah, so we've been quite busy. It's been a busy year. Book just came out, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, My Journey Through America's Violent Crime Crisis. So things are looking up, and I'm hoping to affect a lot of positive change for our communities across the country.
You know, for those of you people listening who don't know Gianno has been a Fox News political analyst for a long time, and it covers a number of issues, this being one of them.
Yes.
And again, to me, it was just so striking how this was a big topic of conversation at the time that it actually went down and it hit home so closely. Walk us through, and I had you on the show around the time that it happened, but
yes.
Walk us through a little bit of what that journey has been like.
On June 24th, 2022, my life changed forever when my innocent teenage baby brother Christian was murdered in Chicago on the South Side. He was not the target. The police have informed me many times over. But since then, I've been out for justice, not just for my baby brother, but for a lot of other families that have experienced the same tragedy as us. And it led to me starting the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, as I mentioned previously before, where we brought on people into our advisory board like Pam Bondi, our Attorney General of the United States, Dr. Drew Pinsky from many reality TV shows people know him from. He's a doctor. And Congressman Burgess Owens, along with many, many other folks who are honestly sick and tired of what they've been seeing in the country, violent crime going wild on every corner, and the elected officials that allow it to happen and in some cases permit it to happen, especially if you're George Soros-funded, what I call them political district attorneys, because that's what they are. They're activists in these roles, and we don't need any of that. We need law and order.
You know, Gianno, recently there was some talk about the people that were involved in a certain arrest, and it turned out that the guy was related to a congressman that comes out of Chicago, Chuy Rivera, I think his name was.
Chuy Garcia?
Chuy Garcia.
Uh-huh.
And I was having a conversation on the show with Alderman Raymond Lopez, and he gave me a little bit of the scoop and the skinny on Chuy, telling me that his son is an active gang member. He's been involved in gang life. It's all well documented. People all over Chicago know that. In fact, he's been very soft on crime because of his own softness towards his son's plight. And it makes me wonder, if that's the one we know about, how many more are out there? So when you're talking about politicians that permit this to happen, there's a number of reasons they do it, whether it's the public, the special interest dollars that are going into their coffers, or just them being sympathetic to it because it hits home for them. What is the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety doing to combat that?
Well, and please visit us at caldwellinstitute.org. What are we doing there? We're exposing it. And I think that's the most important thing. You cannot really understand a problem until you see it in full light. And for many of these places around the country, I think Chicago's a great example, Illinois, because what they have done is implemented policy that had created a treacherous environment for everyday citizens who are just going to work, doing the good work of being good human and coming back home. These individuals have implemented policies like the Safety Act, which is something that's relatively new. And many people, the residents, they didn't have any idea about it. They had no idea. I actually went down with Fox News Channel and I started reading off what the Safety Act does, which was insane. But things like this ankle monitor braces, you know, people can go on house arrest. They have ankle monitor braces. Well, usually in any set of circumstances with house arrest, if you go out of range, the police call you, they stop by your house to make sure you're still there, etc. Well, with Cook County, which is the county that encompasses Chicago, they have people who have been accused of murder on these ankle monitor bracelets. And with the Safety Act now, police are not allowed, keep in mind I'm using the word allowed, they're not allowed to respond to a call from the ankle monitor bracelet saying, hey, the person is out of range, they're not home or whatever for 72 hours. So just imagine if somebody actually murdered someone, they're at home with an ankle monitor bracelet, and now they got 72 hours to go murder the witness. This is insanity. But it's much more laws like that. The Safety Act eliminated cash bail in the state of Illinois, and it's doing great damage. But then when you look at the election results from just this week in your very own home of New York, a socialist Democrat may actually be your mayor. Somebody who's saying, oh, we need to defund the police again. You defunded the police once in New York. You defunded them to the tune of $1 billion. And what did it lead to? Death and destruction, because that's what happens. We need to have our police active. They need to protect us. And the fact that you got places around the country, these big city mayors that are demonizing our law enforcement, is egregious. It's asinine.
You know, Gianno, as you're telling me all that, and you're right, we're in a hot mess here in New York City. Thank God for Curtis Lewa, and I think his campaign's going to pick up some steam. But we see this problem all over. We just saw the police told to stand down all over California, Los Angeles, the riots that were there. Cops trying to defend themselves against people throwing rocks at them with Gavin Newsom and other mayors. There was even one vice mayor who was in a hearing and was getting the testimony of the sheriff, the county sheriff, and said, why aren't you giving us a heads up when ICE is coming? And he said that would be illegal. That would be obstruction of justice. And it's just so funny to think the way their minds think. They literally, I've been saying it for a while now, I feel like Democrats have never met a criminal that they don't love.
No. You know, I hear people say they never met a criminal they don't like. But love, I think, is even more accurate than anything else, because what they've done is since George Floyd, they went from saying, okay, we need criminal justice reform. There's an over-criminalization of this particular population. They're talking African Americans and Hispanics. And, you know, criminal justice reform on its face sounds good.
Right.
You know, I don't have a problem with it, especially when they were going back to the crime commission during the Clinton years, and they said, okay, what we're finding is people are being over-criminalized for crack cocaine. They're not getting the same amount of time as people who are having or trafficking cocaine, and it's the same substance. So they said, okay, folks are getting more jail time when another person kind of gets off scot-free. I understand that. We have to rebalance that, even though the crime commission under Clinton threw the report away in the garbage. They didn't care.
Yeah.
So that I can understand. But what we have now isn't that. It's justice for the criminal. It's no longer about criminal justice reform. They're more concerned about those individuals than the actual victims of violent crime. And when victims speak out, they try to silence them. Think about Alvin Bragg here in New York, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. There's so many complaints about these individuals because their focus is politics. Yep. Alvin Bragg proved that when he prosecuted President Donald Trump. And that's not where it should be. What we need is individuals that run for these offices that are brave. They know that they don't they need to go in not caring about being reelected, not caring about the fame that they can get from having these particular positions or the money they can get after. They need to be concerned about and capitulate to what the citizens want. And I can assure you, defunding the police is not what the citizens of New York want.
100%. Gianno Caldwell, you know him from the Fox News channel. He's a political analyst there. He's all over the place. He does a lot of great work. And now he's the head of the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety. And in your day-to-day, when you're not running the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, you're on Fox News Channel doing all sorts of media coverage on a number of things. Like you mentioned before, we're sitting here, World Trade Center, New York City, and people are shocked across the country that we have this socialist, Islamist, sympathizing Democrat that won the Democrat primary, beating the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, beating the sitting mayor of the city of New York. And It doesn't surprise me because this is the same city in 2018 where the number 3 person in Congress, Joe Crowley, was taken out by AOC all-out crazy herself.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always been a communist sympathizing element in the city. And what they always have going for them is emotion, right? They know how to bang the pots and pans and target those heartstrings that get people going. But we've seen so many things developing in the news. You've got the fake news media trying to undercut the efforts that the brave men and women of the Air Force and the military did when they conducted this mission in Iran to denuclearize them. You've got the riots that are finally, I think, tamping down a little bit all across the country, mainly in Los Angeles. And so much of this is going on. How do you balance it all? And what are you juggling right now?
To be honest with you, I run a bunch of businesses. I have 2 nonprofits, the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, the Caldwell Foundation for Public Safety. Again, caldwellinstitute.org. Please visit us there and support our efforts. And additionally, I'm going on tour as well, so please go there and see our tour schedule. And then I have private businesses and obviously the Fox News channel, among many, many other things that I do. It's a hard balance. It's a difficult balance, but it's a necessary one. One in which, after my brother's murder, this has become a part of his legacy, and it's become a part of mine, to save lives. And we truly can and will do more of that. As we did with George Gascon in Los Angeles, we took him out. We supported Nathan Hochman. We put money in that race, my voice in that race, and we had a great outcome. And now folks in Los Angeles County can, be grateful to have an actual prosecutor who does their job. Now, when we're thinking about, kind of the things that are going on, and today we got Iran, we got the race that just the Democratic primary here in New York City. We got immigration is still a really raging issue because we got a lot of folks that do need to be deported out of this country. People who have committed crimes, they shouldn't have been here in the first place. And, they've really taken advantage of our generosity as a country.
Yeah.
Those are elements I think are worthy of discussion because they're worthwhile, but it's also worthwhile to talk about how crazy the left is.
Yeah.
They've gone insane. Like many of them. I'm not saying every Democrat is insane. I'm saying many are now insane. It's a whole reflection of their entire party because they're voting for these things. They're speaking out and endorsing these things. I think about what this socialist mayoral candidate said. I want to open up a bunch of grocery stores, government owned. I want to do $65 million for trans, gender affirming care. I want to defund the police. I want to do rent control, which I'm sure a lot of people in New York actually would want rent control. I hear that your 1 bedrooms are like $5,000-$6,000, which is insane. You might as well get a house and a mortgage if that be the case. And there's all these elements that I think kind of go together, and it paints a really vivid picture for the country. And that is, just like we saw with the 2024 election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, there were people who did not like Trump's personality, may have appreciated his policies, but they said, you know what? I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to vote for Donald Trump. Why? Because the other ones are just nuts. They're crazy.
Right.
I want to go back to a sensible time in America where we can define what a woman is. I think that's reasonable, right? We should be able to do that. And now we have a point where Republicans have a very unique opportunity. They should be going into every neighborhood. Just like you and I. Last time we really sat on your radio show was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about that, the need to go into these neighborhoods that don't necessarily agree with us, just like Trump did with the Bronx.
Yes.
Going into the Bronx, we as Republicans need to be out in these areas where we're not invited, where we're not liked, where people call us names, because it's very hard for them to demonize us when people have gotten a chance to meet us.
Yep.
And that's important. That's what I think that's one of the elements that has been missing in the GOP. And I'm hopeful, because Trump has completely transformed the party, I'm hopeful that folks will follow some of the things he's done. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or not, because we know a lot of the folks that have voted for Trump, not for the Republican Party per se. So, there's a lot of work that we need to do, whether it be about the crime issue, immigration, or just getting out the right candidates to get supported. And the Caldwell Institute stands ready to be supportive in those efforts. Again, it's CaldwellInstitute.org. Support our efforts, please.
Check them out, folks, CaldwellInstitute.org. And I think you're right. I think, the model that President Trump has laid out for people to win elections is just that. You get a couple of issues where you may not be totally in sync with the base, but it makes the most sense with the larger population.
Yes.
And I don't know that I would say Trump's entirely a populist. I think he has some populist messaging, but I think he has a very conservative message too, and the majority of his policies, as evidenced by his foreign policy as of late.
Yeah.
And this strike, I think there was a lot of confusion there, or at least people that were trying to push him in an interesting direction. But he did what he felt he had to do, and I think when you look at all the polling that came out, everybody seemed to be on board with it. So very good point. And I think, of all the candidates that are running, with Cuomo, who's quite the elitist in my opinion, with Eric Adams, another elitist, with Mamdani, who's he might be out there, maybe not so much of an elitist, but definitely
he's an elitist. So the voters view him as an elitist. You keep in mind, voters making $50,000 or less rejected him by 20 points.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the working class voting for him and supporting him. It is the elites. It's the white liberals who live in these conclaves. In some cases, they have their own personal security and they don't have to worry about the well-being of other people. So they say, yeah, it's fine to defund the police. He's called the police department a racist organization. Like, I think I could be incorrect about it, but I think he alluded to them being some part of the KKK or the Klan or something. Now, I could be wrong about that, but the language resembles that.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and it is not the right way you would want to see a guy who may possibly take over the city. It doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, I don't think.
But what I'm saying is he's positioning himself as the outsider, the reformer, the I'm not those guys.
Yeah.
He's clearly creating contrast, and it's working for him in that regard. And then there's Curtis Sliwa, the lone Republican, who rides the subway, doesn't own a car. He's been in the streets for almost 5 decades now. And I think he's really that man of the people that can reach out to a number of people. And my thinking, and I'm asking you this because you're the political analyst, not me. But
no, you're a political analyst as well.
But you're the pro. And when I look at this, I say, if you've got Mamdani and Cuomo and Adams all staring at each other down the barrel of their political guns, and they're shooting each other, that just leaves a lot of space for Curtis to walk around them and get right in if they're, fighting over the same vote. So he has an opportunity to say, what, I'm not these guys.
Yeah.
I'm not these guys. Let's go this way. And I think that's exactly how Trump won. Saying, look, I'm not Sleepy Joe. I'm not, Kamala Harris. I'm Trump. And this is what I'm going to do. No tax on tips. And, sticking with his message. I think his messaging was incredibly crystal clear in this last campaign.
It was.
And we saw the results.
And it was also so applicable to the working class people of this country, the middle class people of this country. He offered up plans that Democrats may have agreed with but would never say, like no tax on tips. They want to tax the hell out of you, plain and simple. And it doesn't matter if you're poor, you're middle class, or rich. Everybody fits in the same category, even though Mamdani is saying things like, oh, no, we're going to pay for it by taxing the rich. How? A lot of the rich have moved to Florida.
Right.
They live in Texas. You got $16 billion in tax revenue out the door. And then this guy is, if he were to win, he's going to become New York's #1 realtor, period. Because so many people are going to leave and head out of town. And I was reading this article from a big realtor here in New York, and he was saying when he won the primary, he had people calling him saying, look, I want to put my house up for sale. Right. I'm trying to get to Florida. And he's like, it's either going to people go to Florida or they're going to move to New Jersey. So either way, you're not going to be successful in your endeavor.
Yeah.
You're going to ultimately have to squeeze the middle class and the working class folks too. Just like they got the congestion tax?
Oh, congestion pricing.
Congestion pricing? Congestion pricing.
Yeah, congestion, right.
Yeah, congestion price. I'm mispronouncing that. But you get what I'm saying. It's that element. Like, who do you think this hurts?
You pay more to have less cars on the road.
Yeah, go get on the subway and get robbed. Okay. Like, what?
Or set on fire.
And that's insane. And my colleague at Fox News Channel, Adam Klotz, he had that experience. He was on the subway. He saw kids light a man's hair on fire.
Wow.
And he said, you guys don't do that. Stop. And they went and they beat him up.
Wow.
And these were kids, like teenagers. It's insane.
It's sad. Speaking of kids, the book, The Day My Brother Was Murdered, a young innocent man in Chicago. The author of the book, Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, give him the website one more time for the book and for the Institute.
And just really quick on the book, I write about 9 families, including my own, that were all murdered on that day across the United States of America. People like Catherine out of Texas, who was a chemical engineer, 65 years old, mother, grandmother, wife. A drug deal went bad. Both individuals were looking to rip each other off. They discovered it. They chased each other on the highway, shooting, and she became a casualty of that. Or James, a veteran out of Philadelphia who had PTSD. So he would go to the park at 1 or 2 o'clock in the night almost every day because he couldn't sleep. And he see these kids in the park, and he tells them, look, go home. It's too late for you all to be out here. These were teenagers and some younger than teenage. And they beat him to death with a traffic cone. You know, like I mentioned before, I talk about solutions in this book. I got Sean Hannity on it. I got Dr. Drew on it. I got John Walsh from America's Most Wanted. It is a book that everybody should read. Get it for your friends. Get it for your family. The solutions part, I think, is the most important because we already know how bad it is. We know that already. Now we need to do something about it.
Amen to that. Folks, get the book. Check out Gianno Caldwell. Follow him online.